So, welcome back to the channel, guys. And as you can see, we finally got a new hairdo right here. As you're seeing, we basically barely have any hair. So, you like our new hairdo? Well, there you go. You got a new, handsome-looking guy with not even no hair. Just being funny. But anyhow, so the other morning we basically discussed about the future of Vizio, however, basically probably at some point may not even be around for much longer because if you remember us telling you, Best Buy store, one of our local Best Buy stores, has actually taken down the brand itself. If you used to walk into a Best Buy store, they would immediately had like Sony, Samsung, LG, and then Vizio was like their fourth bread and butter, especially when it came to over the other three brands at a way lower affordable price points. Well, that has actually changed at our local Best Buy, and it seems like it's probably going to be a Best Buy worldwide store change. And they have replaced the Vizio brand with Hisense and TCL. So, with that being said, even though if Vizio does, however, go out of business or just doesn't make TVs anymore, this is a TV that hopefully in the early month of March, just right around close to springtime, this is a TV that we're going to basically get just, in case if Vizio does stop making and producing TVs or does, however, go out of business. I don't think that Vizio is really going to go out of business at all, but I do think that they're probably not going to be selling pretty much TVs or making TVs anymore. But we love gaming, and from the price of this TV with the specs that it has, this one does seem like it's going to be very, very impressive. And right now for $700, it's got all of the stuff that you would need with pretty much gaming experience, brilliant 4K QLED HDR picture, color and draws, and all that. And one of the brightest TVs yet, which, there's TVs that can get brighter than this, but even with 1,000 nits of peak brightness, the TV, 1,000 nits of peak brightness is still pretty darn bright, even for an OLED. Even though OLED is definitely superior than QLED, and there's a lot of OLEDs that can't even maintain that brightness. But 1,000 nits peak brightness, yes, while it may not be quite as bright as some other TVs like Samsung brands with their new QLEDs and the new Hisense and TCL 8 series TVs, 1,000 nits is still going to be very bright, and it's still going to give you those nice, punchy, bright, brilliant colors and really good highlights, especially in both HDR and SDR. So, honestly, I really am looking forward to this TV, and we are going to review it. Now, this is the TV off of ratings.com, and as for the usage of what we're going to do with it, it's mostly green in the two ways that we're going to be using it for, which is going to be basically video games. Now, here are the pros and the cons from ratings.com. Now, this is a reliable, company that does awesome reviews on TVs and just gives everybody the accurate information to help people, decide on if this is going to meet their needs for what a TV is supposed to have, or it's going to meet their requirements in a TV that they want, is what I'm trying to say. But here are the pros and the cons for video games, and it says, while the Vizio Quantum Pro is an impressive TV for gaming, it has incredibly low input lag ensuring a responsive gaming experience. It also supports 4K at 120 Hz gaming from the latest consoles and PC GPUs, but only one port, so you can't take full advantage of multiple consoles. Now, that is one area that I do think that Vizio did, however, needed to improve on. But I mean, most hardcore and casual gamers out there, most of the time, are either going to have one console or basically one PC or whatever, and they're just going to plug in the best that they can get on that HDMI port. But when you really think about it, the PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, and even to an extent PC basically can't even get up to, you basically can't even play at 4K at 120 Hz. You got to have like the last three, new top of the line graphics cards for PC in order to achieve that. So honestly, like if you are a console and a PC gamer and you like your PC on a big screen, honestly, I don't see this being even effective to any hardcore gamers out there that have multiple consoles. Because, I mean, really, when you think about it, I mean, even with current generation games, they can only be able to hit 4K 30 frames, and they have the option for performance that can play at 1440p at 60 frames, or even 4K also at 60, or 1080p 120. So really, this is not really honestly a big deal, honestly, from what I look at it as. But it says, continuing on, it says it has a quick response time resulting in clear motion with very little motion blur behind fast-moving objects. It also supports a 1080p at 240 Hz mode, which is what a lot of casual and hardcore PC gamers would definitely recommend. So this TV for $700, if you want a big screen and you have a really good, decent graphics card and you want the best and you're a frame rate kind of person, honestly, I would recommend this TV, even though we don't even have it yet. Delivering smooth motion at lower input lag at an I don't know why I say expensive, but at the expense of visual fidelity. It doesn't look as good in a dark room, though, as it has a low native contrast ratio, and there's a lot of distracting blooming around bright objects, highlights, with local dimming feature enabled. So, if you was wondering about that, that basically means that this TV is an IPS panel and not a VA. If you look right here where it says subtype, yes, IPS is not going to give you the best native contrast as a VA panel would. But there are a lot of benefits with an IPS panel over a VA. Yes, you might not get as good contrast ratio, but colors are supposed to look more vibrant, and response time for gaming is actually a slightly tad bit quicker on an IPS panel, which I actually just learned about today, not knowing about it. But yeah, there's actually a lot of benefits with an IPS panel on TVs, and it makes sense of why a lot of gaming monitors only do IPS panels from most of the manufacturers out there, like LG, Samsung, and even Sony's newer, in-zone monitors. It makes sense of why they use IPS panels, because they also have 1 millisecond response time. So it honestly makes sense of why they are IPS panels, because they have the best response time and the best colors. But moving on, and it says contrast ratio, or not, no, I forgot. We already read that. The pros and the cons is what we need to do. So low native contrast ratio and poor local dimming implementation is one of the cons. And then the other one being only one HDMI 2.1 port, which is something that I think Vizio should have done. They should have at least had two. I think that TVs nowadays should have all four HDMI ports be 2.1. But even with this one only having one, it's personally not really a big deal when you really think about the frame rate and the resolution that basically current generation games already only support. So, I mean, you're really not losing anything at all, even if you have a Series X or a PlayStation 5 or both. But the pros with this is high peak brightness, reflection handling, and as of course, low input lag, and then quick response time. And then, even though it's only one HDMI port, you have the option to play at 4K 120 Hz gaming. So we'll go down the list, and as I forgot to mention, this TV is only in available two sizes, a 65 and a 75 inch. So honestly, those are the only options that you get. And that's a bit interesting. So I see right here it says picture processor with IQ Ultra processor and then IQ Ultra Plus processor for the larger size. But at the same, it makes honestly sense. And then here are some TVs that they're showing that are VA panels that are going to be better than the Vizio. And then here's Vizio's lower end TV below the Quantum Pro. So, yeah. So they got the build quality as okay decent, 7.0. Contrast, honestly, with local dimming turn on high, you will get at least decent contrast at 14,000, almost 15,000 to 1, which that's actually still pretty decent. And then blooming is 6.5, so it looks like it won't be quite as bad, but you're still going to see some of it. And then lightning zone transitions, that's going to be okay, but you're still going to see blooming, as you're seeing right here with around that square. You're seeing some light coming through. And then contrast and dark details in game mode looks to be okay, not the greatest, but also not horrible. And then HDR highlights and then game mode HDR, honestly, they definitely look like they're going to be pretty decent. I am noticing that this scene right here on both of these pictures, I do see that the green on the grass on the HDR in game mode does, however, look to be more slightly richer on the HDR game mode than it is on the regular HDR. And then here's SDR. It's going to get really good bright. Then the color gamut is also going to give you some nice rich colors, and the color volume looks good. And this is pre and post calibration. Black uniformity. Now, look at this picture real quick. Now, this is what you are going to expect with an IPS panel. So, this is a white sub like picture on a black background. Blech. I screwed up mumble there. But you can clearly see that on a background, you can see this white whatever plus looking sign, and there is a lot of blooming, like glowingness around it. So this is what you're going to have to expect with an IPS panel. With a VA panel, this is still going to be occurring, but it's very, very minimum. So there's that. And as you're seeing, with contrast turn off, that is what the whole screen is going to look like. So you're going to see the blacks look bluish gray, and they look lit up. And with some, brighter and dimmer spots as you're seeing throughout, that's just what you're going to have to expect with a IPS panel. I about said a VA panel there for a second. But HDR native gradient looks to be like a good one. Now, this is one place that this TV does struggle a little bit, but honestly, I don't think it's going to be really a big deal, especially if you play in 1080p or 4K. But the upscaling sharpness processing is not too great, but it is definitely a slightly bit better than TCL's upscaling, which is even worse than this. And response time absolutely looks fantastic. And honestly, stutter looks to be its effect a teeny bit, and then 24p judder looks like it's better. And then this is also another thing I forgot to mention with this TV when it comes to gaming, you are going to be able to get variable refresh rate, and you will be able to play at 120 hertz at 4K or 1080p at 240 hertz. Now, this TV might have some issues until Vizio releases some, firmware updates throughout the upcoming months, considering that it just released a few months ago. And as you're saying, with the input latency, the input lag, it actually looks fairly good. It looks fairly remarkable. 14 milliseconds at 60 hertz at all resolutions, and then 120 hertz at 1440p, 1080p. Well, 1080p is a little bit higher, but 38.9, that'll still be low enough to give you a nice gaming experience. But 4K at 120 hertz and 1440p at 120, you're getting input latency as low as 6 milliseconds. So, really, this TV, for the price that you are basically paying, honestly, this TV looks like it will be one of the best TVs for 2024 for the incredible low price point. And then when it comes to gaming, it's got all the features that you would want in gaming. But, yeah. So, we're going to be looking forward to getting this TV in just probably a little over a month. Heck, we might even get it as soon as the end of next month. But don't hold your breath. Honestly, I really do think that we're probably not going to get this television until early March. But since Vizio looks like they possibly might not either be around or making TVs much longer, might actually be our last Vizio TV that we get in review before they completely just go away. But as you're seeing with this TV, like, there are some pros and cons, but it looks to be like it has more pros than it does cons, especially if you are going to use it like what we're going to use it for, which is basically gaming and just enjoying the heck out of it. Now, the blooming, this is an area I honestly just don't really think that it's as big of a deal as some people make it out to be. Like, yes, it's nice to have the black levels to look really black and to look really, really dark, but especially if you are a gamer, this is an area where I don't think that black levels honestly matter a whole lot. Because, really, when you're playing games, you're going to have something on the screen at all times. And some TVs that have VA panels have black crush, which basically means the black levels of shadows get so dark that even to an extent, you can't even really see shadows behind objects on certain games from a sunlight. So that's kind of where I honestly think that for gaming, a TV with blooming like this, honestly, I don't really think that it's as big of a deal as a lot of people make it out to be. So honestly, I personally don't really mind this. But this is a TV that we're going to hopefully try to get sometime here before long. But other than that, honestly, yeah. I hope you guys enjoyed this video of us showing you the pros and cons and talking about our future purchase of the Vizio Quantum Pro QLED TV. But let us know in the comment section down below if you're somebody that has this TV or you just recently got it for your PlayStation 5 or Xbox Series X, and if you really love it and how good is it for gaming. Is it honestly amazing, or do you regret buying it? So yeah, just leave us your thoughts down in the comment section down below. Hit that like button. Also, subscribe if you are new to this channel, and we will be sure to keep you posted with more content like this going forward. But without further ado, this is Tech and Gaming Reviews. Hope y'all enjoyed it, and we will see you on the next one.